Hello, hello, hello. You are live with Dave Jose. Actually, we won't be live. Usually I'm live. We actually are going to be discussing some things today. Let me see what today's date is so I can make sure I get all this information in, right? It is, um, let's see, it's November 5th, Tuesday. We got report. Now, let me come out first and say that I do not personally know Phil McConnell. I have never had a conversation with him. I have uh, had Facebook messages with Timothy Holmseth. I've never had a phone conversation with him. Um, so anything that I talk about where I verify information or I have a knowledge of certain things that are happening, just understand that first of all, I have this knowledge and understanding from outside of these gentlemen. So when I hear certain things, I do actually have situations where I hear certain things. And the way that I heard them is that I verified it through other sources, not connected to these men. And as I said, I have not had phone calls or any activity where I actually have been involved with them in order to get this information. Now, I did a report of the 2,100 kids in California. And the reason that I reported that is because not only did I hear it from multiple sources, but I could see supporting facts that this is highly likely to have happened. Nobody can ever say 100% anything has happened unless they were on the site as witnesses, right? But one thing that I do see is that we did have the verification from one source where there were manholes blowing up underground. We have other situations, for instance, like we have fire coming out of manholes. We had smoke coming out of manholes. We had the video done where there was the weather video that was aiming down on the ground where you can see simultaneous explosions happening on video. What else did we see? We saw where information came out from Maxine Waters where she said strangely that Trump was trying to get her killed by KKK. We know that that doesn't really make any sense. But what we do know is she's from that same location where Trump, where it said that 2,100 kids were saved. So we can kind of look at clues and see something ain't normal here. We also see that Trump activated the military. We seen on military.com where they said they were going to be fighting and they were training to fight in underground bunkers and underground. So when we see things like that, we know that it's highly likely something is going on, and the military doesn't always come out and tell us why they're doing their missions, but we can see that it's happening. What else do we see? So what I want to do is I want to share some content, and hopefully I can share my screen and we can show some of the things that okay, I have to set this up, so I might not be ready to do this yet. Let me see if I can. So let me see. Let me see if I can get this going. So I may have to go on my phone and pull it up. So it was lifenews.com /opinion /Norway. So hopefully I can get there. It's a lot to write. Norway is. Let's see if it'll let me through that way. So let's see if it'll pull it up for us and let us see what it is that I saw. Okay, so here's lifenews.com. There was an article that came out recently, and it's talking about Norway on this one. Let me see if I can get to the new one. And this is super important. Norway. Okay, hopefully we can find what I'm looking for. Please forgive me, because I didn't put the whole. Okay. This may, nope, that's not it. But it's deep though. At the top here, we can see where it says Norway's child welfare scandal, parents versus Norwegian state. So Norway is also going through the situation where, let me see if I can get to this life. Sorry, guys. This is going to be very important though, because what we're going to be able to do is realize that there are certain things happening behind the scenes that we aren't necessarily told about. I may have to put in the whole thing, and I really don't. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, we found it. So this is from October 29th, 2019. This is just recently. So we got to understand that there are things that are going on that we may not have discussed, we may not be told. And just because people may have information that others don't have, we have to understand that not everything is a fraud and not everything is a lie, and we need to verify and see if things are coming true that are being said. And for instance, I have a source that is connected to Trump and his wife in a way that deals with stopping trafficking. And this source also gave me information about the sovereign nations coming together to deal with the issue of trafficking and how we were going to see these arrests nationwide. Now, I mean, worldwide. Now, I came months ago and reported this information and told people that there were going to be arrests from the different sovereign nations. We saw the first arrest in Italy, where it was found that guardian ad litems, judges, attorneys, and other people were coming together to steal kids. Then we saw where it came over to Contra Costa, it came over to California, where these people were being watched. It hit Texas, it hit Florida. Now we're going to look at this new news article, Family Freedom Politics, Tuesday, October 29th, 2019, Norway is stealing children from their parents. The EU government noticed. Now, what's happening? So one thing that we can verify is that it's highly probable and highly likely that my source was speaking from his real experience when he said that he went and traveled and spoke with people of different nations. I believe one of them was the Netherlands. You see him speaking about nations over there. You don't see it, I saw it. But what I'm going to do is I think the name is Barneveret, Child Protective Services, Education, Homeschooling. See, we're dealing with some of these same issues here. Norway, parental rights to totalitarianism, right? So October 29, 2019, the public discourse. In recent weeks, it has been reported that the Norwegian authorities have taken permanent custody of 3 American children from their Christian parents. I'm not going to try to name the names. A US citizen and her husband, Lithuanian citizen, all right, are not allowed to visit their children are now allowed to visit their children only 3 times per year. Sadly, this is not particularly shocking to those who have been working to protect parental rights in Europe. It seems remarkable that this has been happening in a country that positions itself as a human rights champion through its Agency for Development Cooperation. Norway devotes more than 400 million per year to its priority areas, including the protection of human rights. It is therefore ironic that despite the public effort to protect human rights, a human rights violation it would have rather kept hidden has been exposed to the world. The snatching of the Bolnario children, might butcher these names, it is what it is. In some ways, the story starts in 2015 with the very public removal of 5 Bolnario children, then aged 9 to only 3 months, from their parents by the Barnevernet, Norway's child welfare agency. The first they knew of it was when 2 black cars approached their farm. A social worker told them that their daughters had been taken directly from school into emergency state care and that the parents should come to the police station to answer questions. At this point, their 2 older sons were taken also, right? So what we need to realize is that we have situations where it is coming out to the forefront that the government realizes that there has been child trafficking. Now, I reported that the truth had come out that children were being child trafficked. I dealt with a very powerful man who has spoken directly with Trump, directly with William Trump, directly with William Barr, directly with different nations. This man has also talked to E-Clause, I can say that 100%, which E-Clause, Chris Hallett, who is the owner of E-Clause, has done quite a bit in showing the fraud that is happening inside of courts and fraud that is happening in private entities that are presenting themselves as courts, but they're doing it with things that are outside of our law. So I've been able to also witness Chris Hallett kicking butt. I've been able to witness a multitude of cases being affected after he gets people to put out remonstrances or he steps in on their behalf or helps them. So I have a rare vantage point where I'm able to see multiple players who are involved in fighting this trafficking, fighting the rape of children, fighting courts that are doing the wrong thing. So I can come out and say quite a bit, but what I want us to do is analyze some of the things that we are facing. Now, on top of that, I can say that I also saw where one of the gentlemen, his name is Timothy Holmseth. Timothy Holmseth came out and he started talking about some of the things that are happening. Some of the things that are happening with the law, right? And what happened was is that people said, oh, Timothy Holmseth must be a fraud. There is no such thing of a task force that's trying to fight trafficking. It doesn't exist. Now, what I found greatly helped Timothy Holmseth's cause, because I've never talked with him directly on the phone, but I do have the ability to look at other things and say, hey, can I verify that what he is saying is highly probable? Well, I noticed that after a gentleman came out and said that there is no such thing of a task force that is actually going against trafficking, I quickly, within like a day or two, seen President Trump come out talking about the interagency task force or the interagency group that he has fighting, that he's going to use all the power he has in his position to bring people together to fight. So what can I say about this? Well, first of all, I have to say that I will never just call something a name. I don't know the official name of what these people are. This is what I do. I describe them. I say, there are people who are working with Trump to give evidence and come kick down freaking doors. And it's a whole bunch of them. And that's how I explained it. I don't call it like a Pentagon task force. I don't call it a pedophile task force, because apparently Trump is going after traffickers in a lot of ways. Now, let's look even deeper. If we look at the executive orders Trump has made since 2017, he talked about the people who, I'm sorry, the persons working in trafficking and entities, and he called them associations, organizations, trust, corporations, individuals, meaning like businesses. So you can see from the executive orders that he's clearly trying to trap entities and government entities that have been created by government, or private entities that were created by government but allowing to act in a private. He was going after them. These associations who are trafficking, you can see that he went after them further when his recent executive orders talked about those entities, even if they're government, who are working in trafficking. And he said they are using what's called guidance documents. And he talked about the Administrative Procedures Act. The Administrative Procedures Act does not govern drug dealers and gang members who traffic. What the Administrative Procedures Act does is deal with agencies that are being allowed to affect people in the world. And so what we can find is that these agencies that have been working are actually affecting the rights of people, and they may not be government entities at all. They may be private entities that are coming together in order to affect people's rights, and Trump knows it. So when they bring you into a court, they are trafficking. When they bring you into a court that you're not wanting to be in and you don't agree to be in, that's not a court based on our laws, which you see where Trump keeps coming out saying American people must be held to American laws, not foreign laws. He knows what's happening. So what's strange is that after people came out as trolls, is what it seems like, I can't say 100%, and tried to say there is no task force, Holmseth is lying, and this other person is lying, right? Well, it was very crazy to me that quickly after, we see where Ivanka Trump says, this week, the president's interagency task force to combat human trafficking met and announces investments totaling $75 million in the program to end modern slavery, making it at State Department's largest anti-trafficking program. We are committed to ending trafficking in all its evil forms. Modern slavery simply has no place in this world. End trafficking. Now, what's strange to me is that these people, like Phil McConnell, Timothy Holmseth, they do say that they have connections of people that go all the way to Trump. So what's strange to me is when they say that there is a task force that does these different things, and they call it whatever they call it. They might have more knowledge than us. We might not know what the actual definite term is. Who gives a freak? What we can do, though, is we can look and we can see that after they made these determinations that people were being arrested, after they showed, and I can clearly see arrests from Trump and his team, 1,700 arrests at one time. I think it's been 2,500 to 2,800 since March, right? So I don't need a whole lot of people to tell me that Trump is not working against trafficking and arresting people, because he said it out of his own mouth and tweets. And then we see where his daughter, I just showed you the video of how she said it. So I really don't need to have other people tell me that they need to think for me and that everything that people say is a scam, when I'm clearly seeing that they're talking about it, right? So it's strange, though, that the dad posted, and then within the next 2 days, the daughter posted, or the next day, the daughter post telling what's happening. Is really, 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 really highly likely that they're trying to speak up for those people like Phil McConnell or Holmseth that people are trying to say that they're lying. Now, here's another thing that's strange. So it is said that Phil McConnell was arrested. I did see a picture from last night, where somebody posted that he was arrested. They believe it's from the same lady who is just involved with Holmseth being arrested. And I don't want to, people say, is Phil McConnell a fraud or is Timothy Holmseth a fraud? I really don't think based on the limitations that somebody gives me. So to say is Timothy Holmseth a fraud or is Phil McConnell a fraud, first of all, we got to see that Timothy Holmseth has came out with a lot of evidence that I've seen, and I've never had a conversation with him. So I'm not like picking sides for him. I've seen that stuff that Timothy Holmseth has come out to be true. And I keep seeing it, right? Now, he might use terms that I don't use because I don't know the term. So I can't say pedophile task force because I don't know all the task force. I don't have that level of knowledge. I have the contacts that I know who are serving to help fight, but I don't have that level of knowledge. So what I have to do is I have to look at clues. So what I realize is that Timothy Holmseth had a situation where they tried to, or they did arrest him from a person in Florida who I believe is a bar member. And he was all the way in, I believe, Minnesota, I believe, right? So it may not be Minnesota, but let's just say another state freaking across the country, right? Florida's at the bottom, Minnesota is closer to the top, right? So imagine now that Trump just had a situation where Trump had a whistleblower come out and lie on him through his teeth. I have now found out that other people were on the call in the government. They had no problem with the call, but the whistleblower has a problem. Now, the whistleblower lied through his teeth, and Schiff's rendition of what was said was totally different than reality and the truth. Now, President Trump's wife, who is married to the highest man in government right now, she can't make an order or a warrant or do anything to get this person arrested who's lied on her husband. She is connected to the highest man in the country, but he doesn't have the authority to just go start snatching everybody up, right? My thing is, before you say is Timothy Holmseth or Phil McConnell a fraud, you first have to ask, who in the freaking United States of America has the power to start just going and snatching people up because they say something about her? Now, the thing is, the only person I know of who holds that kind of power is the Queen, right? She's not in America. But what strikes me as strange is I believe this woman who is making these orders for people to go snatch people up around the country is a bar member. The bar is represented by, it represents England, right? The British Accreditation Registry or Regency. So is this woman the Queen, is what I have to ask, because if this woman is just pointing and saying, hey, go arrest that dude from states away, right? People are saying things she has not proved. I don't believe that they're saying things that are a lie, but that's not the point. How in the world are you wielding power where you're just going and snatching people up in other states? I don't know anybody who has that power. And with Holmseth, I believe she used the family court to do it. The family court is not constitutional. Now, I have thousands and thousands of parents complaining about how their constitutional rights do not exist in family court or juvenile court. So if a man like Phil McConnell or Timothy Holmseth gets arrested from somebody who uses their power through a family court, how the freak do you call that fraud? Now, I don't know them personally, but to me, it just doesn't make sense when you call somebody a fraud because they get arrested when many of you have been arrested from family court. You see? And you say, well, family court lied on me. Or many of you have been beat up by people and the family court sees real evidence that you've been beat up. You got bruises everywhere, you're beat down, your face and turned ugly for a little while. You got evidence where police came and saw you all jacked up, and then they won't accept your evidence. They won't accept your evidence. So explain to me how you judge if somebody's a fraud based on a system that's working by fraud. So just because somebody gets arrested to me doesn't make a difference, because Rosa Parks got arrested. What did she do? She stood up for what was right, right? If they could have got Harriet Tubman, she would have got arrested, right? Because what she was doing by standing up hurt the system. So Holmseth is making claims that this person who's came after him is involved in trafficking. Now, All you got to do if you want to see what the truth is, from my own experience, is call the FBI and tell them you have proof of trafficking. Tell them that CPS is helping. They will likely hang up on you. They'll shut down your cases. So if you want to tell me that something is fake, if you want to tell me that something is not real, you can't use fraudulent systems to try to prove that it's not real when we know that people are stealing your kids. I just proved in Norway, the government knows they're stealing kids. I've proved in America. I sent out affidavits. People say, oh, well, David Jose didn't have anything to do with all these with Trump's administration asking about parents saying that their kids are being stolen, right? There's trafficking in foster care. Well, my affidavit that I sent in, I showed proof that it said CPS and partner trafficking, and the exact person and office that said that they wanted evidence got notice from us for months. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of affidavits. So in a quasi-experimental design in science, you want to look at certain things happening and you want to see the results that naturally happen. So if we're putting out tons and tons of affidavits to a certain person and then naturally a result comes out or something occurs where we see that it says, we believe CPS and their partners or foster care might be trafficking, give us some word on it, then it is highly probable and highly likely that the result is from the affidavits from all the parents who came to that exact office saying that this is happening because we're swearing to it, right? So when it comes to Phil McConnell, he is a military man. He's a lot more direct than I am. He's an older man, so of course he's not likely going to play a lot of games. He don't know how much time he got left. But when I watch him and I see him, I realize that things that he says I can confirm are highly likely from other sources. So I kind of feel like that he's being trolled and that people are being hired to go after him. Because I'll give you another example. There was a man who came out who had a channel who Timothy Holmseth was going after really pretty much and saying that he believes he's somebody who took part in killing a girl. Now, did it happen that he did it? I don't know, right? Who knows? But what strikes me as strange as when this guy start confirming some of the said things that Timothy said, like Timothy said he was using a server out of Minnesota, and the guy admits on his channel he's using a server out of Minnesota. I'm like, ding, that's one. Let me keep a mental note of that, right? Then after that, Timothy Holmseth talked about how he thinks he's the one on the video and gave a name for him, right? And then I see this guy starts to do strange things. He starts saying, like, if the police comes after me, I'm going to let them know, like I let all the police and FBI agents know and this, that, and the other, that I got some stuff that's going to make them pretty much leave them alone. And I'm like, what could you have that the police would come to you that would make them leave you alone, right? And then I start thinking back and I say, well, people had evidence on Hillary and the police left her alone. People had evidence on Epstein for a time and police left him alone, gave him deals and did all types of stuff. What the freak does this guy have, right? So I'm listening to him and saying, oh, we need to read behind these, between the lines, right? So then the gentleman says, oh, I'll call Pence on the phone. I'll call this person on the phone. I'll call that person, Biden and all these people. And I'm like, how the freak does this dude have? I don't have Biden's number, right? I don't have Mike Pence's number. I don't have all these high-level politicians' phone numbers, and I definitely don't have nothing that'll make them stop any activity that is going against me. So it really made me wonder, what is this guy holding that he believes will stop some of the highest politicians in the nation from coming after him? And then I had to think, he named Joe Biden, who people claim might be involved in some bad stuff with kids. We see evidence of Joe Biden kissing on kids and touching them in inappropriate ways all over TV. And I'm like, that looks a little bit shady because it seems like Joe Biden is a bad guy and he's connected to the Jesuits. He is a Jesuit. So then let's look further. He says Mike Pence. Well, it has been said that Mike Pence has been involved with trafficking, and they had to with evidence from Mike Gill, who is somebody totally different than any of these guys. He's not connected to any of them that I know. Mike Gill showed us where Pence was going to fly a government airplane to meet up with a gentleman, I believe, in the East Coast who was connected to drug dealing, an ex-athlete, right? And he got a call mid-flight and had to turn the freaking flight around. And Mike Gill, a man who was part of he created State of Corruption, New Hampshire, he came out with evidence showing that these people were trafficking drugs. And he told us like a week or two before it came out in the news why they had to turn that plane around. He knew stuff that nobody else knew. So it was proven weeks later when the news came out and said, yeah, he was about to meet up with a drug dealer, right? Now, guys, we can see that there's people who are fighting in this fight that have more knowledge than other people, who know things that other people don't know. And Mike Gill said something that nobody else had information on. So you can't say Mike Gill was lying. He knew exactly what the freak was happening, right? So we also saw Mike Gill try to give evidence to the FBI. They shut it down. We saw Mike Gill try to give evidence to, I think, the IRS, and it took forever before he got a file number from, I think it's called TICA, the investigative system inside of IRS. Now, why is this important? Because Mike Gill had information of what was going on, how they had fraud going on with those judges. In his case, they were trying to shut him down because he was exposing all the drug dealers. They offered him $50 to $55 million to shut up, and he wouldn't take it. He gave up everything he had in his business. They took stuff from him, and some of the same senators, attorneys, and judges were all working together to try to put arrest warrants out on him and go after him. And he had to go into hiding, but he proved that they were trafficking fentanyl, and that the vice president almost met with a drug dealer, and that they had to turn a plane around, and that the FBI was hiding the evidence. They put a trespass on him. So what do we see? We see that the government officials and many of these little three-letter agencies that one of them has no charter, when you wanted to give evidence, they would try to fight you, okay? So we understand that anybody who comes out and shows any kind of trafficking, that these agencies have gatekeepers that try to prevent things from happening. When did we see a change? We saw a change when Trump started going after all of them. Then it's like, oh, shucks, the FBI is starting to get cleaned up. The CIA is starting to get cleaned up, right? The Department of Justice is getting cleaned up. So we need to realize that there are people who have knowledge and understanding that's greater than ours, and they're gonna say things that's different than us. So if I have to give an honest review of Timothy Holmseth, I've seen truth come out with Timothy Holmseth that nobody else has. I've seen him connect dots that nobody else connects. And I've seen through multiple sources where I can verify that things he says, like, you know, there's no reason for the power to be going off in 10-mile-per-hour winds. There's no reason for manholes to be shooting fire out of them. There's no reason for another above the ground display of California showing explosions going off in different areas at the same time, like 7 of them, from different sources, not from Timothy Holmseth. There's too much happening to think that he's lying, okay? He's hitting too many things, like hitting the nail on the head. And so we got our trolls. We know that there are hired trolls on Facebook that are getting paid tons of money to take up for Epstein, to take up for, to create the whole idea of Pizzagate, rather than just calling it what it was. It was Epstein Gate and Government Gate. Is different groups working together to do this wrong, and then they have hired people who come on to discredit people, to stop people from knowing what's really happening. So there's a whole lot of trolls on Facebook that get assigned to you once you start telling the truth. I have them, right? I can show you their own pictures and articles where they're creating articles about me that have nothing to do with the truth. But the whole goal is to stop people from hearing those who tell the truth. And so, you know, when I look at like E-Clause, Chris Hallett, I have had many opportunities to talk with Chris Hallett on the phone. I've seen where people independently from Chris Hallett come out and show how they win cases based on the work of Chris Hallett. I can see government officials going after Trump. I can see Chris Hallett write a letter to them explain emoluments and different things, and then make them stop, or magically they just stop right after. That's too close in the happenstance that happened against Trump, and then the letter that Chris Hallett wrote with directives in there telling people what they have to do as government employees to say that it's not probable that Chris Hallett was involved with that and he did it. What's happening is that God is bringing together very powerful and strong people who understand certain things. Now, there might be some people who lie, some people who try to get credit for themselves by embellishing and stuff like that. No, what we got to do is we got to look at exactly what we see happening, how God is opening the doors in many different areas. We must look at how we see good things coming together, and government officials now seeing the truth and saying, look, they are trafficking. Look at David Farnsworth from Arizona. He came out and said, I believe CPS is trafficking. They're losing kids. Something is going on and it's not right, right? Let's look at Trump, and his daughter talking about stopping trafficking in all forms. They know something is going on. They got to be a little bit more politically correct than us though, right? Also, we have what just happened in Norway. We have what just happened in Italy. We have Contra Costa County. We have Texas. We have Florida, right? So things are coming out all over the place. And you can't say that people are not doing wrong. The days of saying that there's just a bunch of crazy parents who don't know the truth or who are making up stuff is gone and over with. We're in a new realm now where we see that there are bad guys doing things wrong. There are also trolls online who are paid in order to lie. And so we have to understand this, we have to deal with this, and we have to come out and be honest, and we need to really look at probability, and we need to look past what people tell us. Like, for instance, people say, oh, well, McConnell got arrested, right? So the question you have to ask is, okay, well, Timothy Holmseth got arrested. Now, did Timothy Holmseth ever meet this woman? From what we see, no, right? Did she use a court of record to bring forth all this stuff? It don't seem like it. It seemed like she used a family court, right? Who in the whole nation, based on the Constitution, has the power to just go snatch people up in different states because you don't like what they say? That don't seem like any regular person to me, right? Now, understand that this trafficking is worldwide. So if there's people who may be trafficking, and there's people who work in these same systems nationwide and people attacking people and all that, it seems highly probable to me that people have connections of other people to do the dirty work to keep the thing silent. It just makes sense. When you had the Croatian Holocaust, or when you had monks being killed in the middle of the street and their families raped and people brutalized and killed, during the Croatian Holocaust, you'll find that the news would censor the monks' ability to talk. So when Gandhi, we see like Gandhi killed himself, right? Gandhi set himself on fire simply for the purpose of allowing people to see the man burning on fire so that he could let his people go tell the atrocities that were happening to them. So this is a process that is used all over the world. The news tries to hide it. France has been protesting. The news tried to hide it. They tried to say it was over gas prices, but we could clearly see pictures that said pedophilia. And one other thing, they tried to lower the age of sex, bring pedophilia, and force vaccinations. So the news companies are actually trying to hide the truth about what's happening. So I wanted to get this out to you guys. Do I think Phil McConnell is a fake? Heck no. He says too much stuff that is looking to be true. He explains too many things that for Trump and Ivanka to come out and say about a task force, interagency task force, I think Trump and his daughter and his wife would be a lot more proper in what they call things, where other people might look and say, oh, it's an anti-pedophile group. What I do is I describe a thing. I say, look, it's the dudes who go against pedophiles and go against this and that, who kick your freaking door down, and dudes who give evidence, right? Because I don't know what the freak they're called. So I'm not going to try to give them a name. I'm just going to describe what they do. I might call it a task force. I might call it a team. I might call it a council, because sometimes the people I know refer to it as councils and teams, right? But I do know that Trump clearly appointed the lady who I talked in front of on May 28th, 2019 at the McCain Trafficking Institute meeting that I went to the other day and showed y'all me laying down the truth to them. So people tried to say, came and tried to say that was in a library. It was fake. I put the freaking program up so you can see the names of the people who were there, what happened. You can see the video, you can see their faces, but people still will lie and try to deny because they're working for the system, trying to stop people from looking at truth. So with all this being said, do I think Phil McConnell is a fake? Heck no. I can't verify everything that he says, but I can verify a lot is true. Timothy Holmseth, is he a fake or fraud? Heck no. Timothy Holmseth is dropping a whole lot of fire that I can verify outside of him. I never had a phone conversation with him. So, you know, the man seems to be doing some righteous things. I can't verify every single thing. I can't verify if this monograph guy is also the person in the video, you know, abusing the little girl. I can't verify that, you know, that's beyond my knowledge, right? But I have no reason to believe he's lying because he's come out with so many things that I can verify as true outside of him. You know, so that's what we have to do in real news. Our job is to get people to think, right? It's not our job to try to shun people or hurt people or make personal attacks at people. You know, we just tell real news. We just say, hey, look, this is what happened. This is what I saw. This is what I perceived. This is what witnesses told me. This is the information I have. Now you make a decision and you try to make a determination if you believe is true or not. I can't force you to believe something. I can't make you believe. I can just tell you what I see, right? So this is what I come here to do today. I come here to give you independent things that I know of, information that I know of. I can't give all sources and everything, but I can tell you that, man, look, this is what I see. I'm showing you a picture. This is what I see. This is what's happening in Norway. You can go back and check my videos from months ago and see where I told that the sovereign nations came together to go after this trafficking issue, and governments across the world are mad about this. So I can't lie and say all these things after I told you guys months ago what was happening. So once again, I do want to say that, you know, if McConnell got arrested or whatever, you know, we need to wait and see what's happening, because if it doesn't say he got arrested for harming somebody with a gun or snatching somebody up or going and visiting somebody or threatening to kill them or something like that, you know, we need to think twice about it. And if somebody just got arrested again based on somebody from another state who is not using a court of competent jurisdiction, not using, you know, a court of record, then it's a bunch of bull. And if any of you have had CPS cases, foreclosure cases, traffic cases, you know that they totally go against your rights all the time. So if you come to me and you say, well, he's a fraud, look at McConnell, he's a fraud because he got arrested and he's taking people's money. See, now you're gonna have a problem, because if he took donations or he took help to try to fight and do things he needs to do, that's one thing. But to say, oh, he got arrested for cyber stalking, or somebody says he's cyber bullying, or from a family court thing, you can't mix those two together. So don't try to say, oh, he's fraud, see, because he got arrested. So a lot of you got arrested in CPS cases where there was really no evidence of you doing anything wrong, and they wanted to take your kid and they make money on your kid. So the same person making money off your kid is working with a team of people who he gets or she gets to arrest you, and you say that's a legitimate arrest. Even the law, Toomey versus Ohio, lets you know that you can't be judicial inside of cases where you're making money, and you can't use your contempt powers, right, to arrest people if you're making money in the cases, because it's too easy to arrest people because they're preventing you from making money and talking too much. So we better really think about what it is that we say about people before we say it. And in these movements, it becomes too easy to just attack people and go after them because you're sad or you're broken because you don't have your kids, or they couldn't help you get your kids, or your case didn't go the way you wanted it to go. It's easy to bully the people who are trying to fight. But if you're not out there fighting CPS like crazy, and you're not out there showing they're wrong, and you're not going after them really hard, you really need to be cool with going after people who we can actually see fighting, right? We got people who are actually strong enough to stand out there and fight, but then we got people who make videos about the people who stand out there and fight all day. And some of you guys buy that crap. So it shows that you are very disloyal And it shows that you're not genuine if you won't get out there and do the same fight that somebody else is doing, but then you want to attack them. That's really weak. So I want to thank you guys for coming on today. Once again, this is my video. Is Phil McConnell or is Phil McConnell fake, or is Timothy Holmseth fake? I really don't think so. I think there are some very powerful people, especially Timothy Holmseth. I never talked to McConnell, but Holmseth, whoo, that guy is on fire, you know? And you can't deny what he has said. You can't deny what he's shown. He's shown too much for people to just say he's lying, right? So it's highly likely and highly probable that Timothy Holmseth is giving some really good information and really good truth. And just understand that whenever you tell the truth, whenever you fight corruption, you look at Rosa Parks, like I'll say it again, Rosa Parks went to jail standing up against what people called the law back then. Legal statutes that say Black people can't sit in front of the bus. That's not a lawful thing. That's not a holy thing, but people went with it, right? So you guys can see what the truth is. You have to make your own determinations. I'm not going to force anybody to believe anything, but I just want you to see what's going on and see things from my point of view and give information that I have. I want to thank you guys for coming on so much. I'm hoping that I can start doing my YouTube lives. I got over 1,000 people now, but it's still saying I can't do it. So I don't know what the freak they're doing, but it's okay. You know, God is going to bless and we're going to do what we need to do. And I didn't pray before, so I'm going to pray after. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all you've done for us. Thank you for letting us be able to go through information, to be able to analyze things, to be able to put together things to see, Father, what it is that's truth. And we know that truth many times is things that we can't see. And so, Father, we just ask that you help us to continue to seek out wisdom and knowledge, to be able to look at the things that are coming out before us, and to be able to use the things that you have taught us to bring things to light. We love you and we thank you, and we love all the people. We thank you for giving all the people that you have given and put together. And we just ask that you continue to be with us and bless us. Deliver us, Father. Bring mighty glory, Father. Show the people, Father, the nations that they are but men. Bring the children back, Father. Do glorious and amazing things and bless all the families out there. We trust in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Goodbye.